The national office vacancy rate is now elevated, and it's higher than it was during the global financial crisis. It's higher than it was even during what we call the tech wreck of the early 2000s.
Are drawn-out government and employer restrictions relating to COVID-19 starting to take a toll on downtown office vacancy?
Really, all you need are your own two eyes to get a sense of what things are like. It's not entirely a dead zone, yet at the same time the hustle and bustle has far from returned.
A report from CBRE says the third quarter office vacancy rate has jumped to 13.7%. That's compared to just over 2% pre-lockdown.
That has certainly had an impact.
But Paul Morissetti, CBRE vice chairman, says COVID isn't the only factor on the table.
Simply new supply. Across the country, and especially in Toronto, we've built a lot of new office buildings, and we're still building them. And that's been the main reason why vacancy is a bit higher.
Does it almost sound like a little bit of a perfect storm where we have that new supplies available at the same time that people are working at home?
Yeah, I mean, traditionally in the office sector, the biggest Achilles heel has been too much new supply coming at the wrong time. Not only do we have new supply, it began hitting at a time when demand was already waning, and then we had COVID that threw a wrench into everything.
Meanwhile, nearby businesses that rely on the downtown crowd say they're anxious to see more Torontonians return to the office.
Without getting the employment cluster back, the economics don't return. This is a lived neighborhood. We only have 175,000 people that live within a 10-minute walk of Yonge and Dundas. This neighborhood cannot be sustained without the employment cluster coming back.
Have the businesses in your community given you any indication whether they're starting to see any improvements?
Yeah, I think there's been some upticks. So how do we sustain that momentum and that economic return? It has to be through the employment cluster.
One thing to keep in mind, Morissetti says pre-COVID we had remarkably little office space to go around. And this apparent slump may have the surprise benefit of taking some pressure off commercial renters.
And so in many ways, if you're an occupier or a tenant today, you've got a little more time to act, you've got more options, probably better if you're a tenant. If you're a landlord, less so. But again, vacancy is not at the level right now where there is a huge advantage to either the landlord or the tenant.
In downtown Toronto, David Zura, City News.